Hey everyone, it's Kevin, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you the truth about dietitians. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out some of my free resources below. I have a free guide, Why is Eating Right So Hard? I also have a 14-day challenge that you can do. And if you want to speak with me, there is also a link below. So let's talk about dietitians. I think dietitians don't get enough attention and enough credit. Overweight and obesity are everywhere and they are growing trends. And eating right is so difficult. We have distractions, we have processed food, we live in a stressful environment, we have all these emotions. So how do we eat right in that environment? How do we eat right today? And that's where dietitians can come into play. Dietitians do a lot of good work. They help people make right decisions about what to eat, and they also tell them what to eat for their condition and for their body type and for their preference. So I know they're not necessarily MDs or PharmDs or physical therapists or whatever. That doesn't mean they don't do great work. In fact, I think dietitians in many ways are more important than seeing an MD, because nutrition is such a critical component of your health. And unfortunately, a lot of MDs and DOs are just not trained in dietetics and nutrition. I've heard from multiple sources that you only get 1 or 2 credits in nutrition in med school. That doesn't mean they're not learning a lot of good stuff in med school. They're learning, pathology, differential diagnosis, etc. But we need people who know a lot about nutrition and how to eat right. And we especially need people who can show people how to correct maladaptive behaviors. However, I follow a lot of dietitians on Instagram, and I've been seeing some really bad behavior. And when I say bad behavior, I'm seeing a lot of dietitians who have turned themselves into full-time social activists. A lot of these dietitians have gone off the rails, and they are saying things that make no sense. In fact, a lot of them are insulting the health and medical community. A lot of them are saying horrible things about the fitness community, and they're saying things that make no sense. So I am really concerned about the radicalization of this profession. There are a lot of good dietitians out there, but I fear that this gang of dietitians will dominate the industry, and that the entire industry will turn into nothing more than another form of social activism. As a healthcare provider, I will say that if you are a provider, you can also be an activist, but you can't do both full-time. And my concern is that a lot of these dietitians are full-time activists, and they are neglecting diet and nutrition. In fact, most of them don't even show any interest in diet and nutrition. Many of them subscribe to health at any size or body positivity. It doesn't matter how much you weigh, it doesn't matter what you eat. Reject the health and wellness community because that's just another culture. A lot of these dietitians are saying really bad things, like doesn't matter how much you weigh, doesn't matter what you eat. If you get a craving to eat an entire bag of chips, you should just eat the entire bag of chips. It's making me wonder why we need dietitians at all. If you can just eat what you want, follow your cravings, and it doesn't matter how much you weigh, then why hire a dietitian at all? So what I did is I took some screenshots of some Instagram posts that I think deserve some attention. Okay, let's take a look at the first one here. It says the BMI, or body mass index, is just a modern tool to control and manipulate quote unquote uncivilized bodies. It's not a good tool, and I wish we would discard it, so I guess I agree with this one in a way. But I don't believe it was a way to manipulate uncivilized bodies. I'm not even sure what that means. I think it was just a way for practitioners to get a crude measurement of somebody's overall health. But we now know that different people have different body types, and BMI is not a really good tool. I don't particularly care about my BMI. I don't even know what my BMI is anymore. I don't measure it. I wish we would move on, because some measurements like BMI are so crude and parsimonious, it's not even worth measuring. On the other hand, I don't think BMI was invented to manipulate bodies, especially uncivilized bodies, whatever that means. And speaking of BMI, here's another one. What BMI is a math formula created by an astronomer, I didn't know that, in the 1800s, based on white Europeans. Okay, let's stop there. What does that have to do with BMI? Why even mention white Europeans? Is she saying that this was invented as a way to control other people? Was it a form of dominance? Was it a form of patriarchy? I don't think so. I think it was invented because it was a really crude and easy way to measure somebody's health. It doesn't work, it never worked, and I wish we would discard it. But I really question posts like this that have like, racial terms, white Europeans. What does that have to do with anything? Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Diet culture, a system of beliefs that equates thinness, muscularity, and any particular body shape with health and moral virtue, promotes weight loss and body reshaping as a means of attaining higher status, demonizes certain foods and food groups while elevating others, and oppresses people who don't match its supposed picture of health. So let's take a look at this here. So diet culture, I've made a video about this before. It is just this subculture that idolizes fitness and health, and it can go too far. I agree. I have succumbed to diet culture in my past where I idolized body and health and image. Yes, I get it. On the other hand, there are people who do need to make healthy changes in their lives, and there are people who have a lot of fat to lose and should probably lose it. There are people who are unfit and need to get fit, because being fit and being strong is a much healthier and a much easier life. Now, why is it that we are attracted to certain body types? Is this based on patriarchy or cultural standards? I think it's just based on biology. I talked about this before in my fat phobia video, that we are attracted to certain body types. We are attracted to fitness because we want to mate with partners that have good genes. We want to mate with partners that are going to produce healthy offspring. This is particularly true for men. Men are attracted to fit women. Okay, it's not based on modern culture. It is based on our brains. Our brains are naturally attracted to certain facial features and certain body types, and it's not just some cultural construct like what this Instagrammer is saying here. When somebody is in shape, when somebody has a nice body, it is sending signals. Those signals convey information like commitment and consistency and the ability to attain goals, accomplishment, dedication. That's why we're attracted to fit bodies, because it's not easy to achieve that. When you see somebody like a male who has nice shoulders and nice chest and nice abs, it means that he devoted a lot of time to achieving that body. It means that he is fit, he is healthy, he can lift weights. We are attracted to fitness, and all of these body features convey that information to us. Having 20 to 25% body fat is not natural. In fact, when they did a body fat composition study many years ago on some Pacific Islanders, most of the men had 10 to 12% body fat, meaning having high levels of body fat is not natural. If you put humans in a natural state, like 200 years ago, they wouldn't have a lot of fat. That is not our natural disposition. Yes, we deposit fat better than other mammals, but being obese, being overweight, having 20-25% body fat for men is not natural. Now, this Instagrammer says it is a means of attaining higher status. Well, I hate to break it to you, but when a woman or a male goes from unfit to fit, yeah, he or she is going to get more attention. You're going to get better dates. You might even get a job more easily. Now, you can say that this is oppressive. I would say that's just how life is. People who are fit, people who look good, people who are attractive are going to have an easier time attaining the resources that they want. She says that it demonizes certain foods and demonizes food groups. I don't think we should demonize anything, but some foods are more preferred than others. Some food groups should be more preferred than others. For example, I don't think you should prefer meat more than whole grains. Okay, meat is expensive. I don't think we're designed to consume too much of it. It consumes a lot of resources. You should probably put more emphasis on grains and vegetables than you should on meat. Not saying that you should never eat meat, but I don't think you should be eating, a pound of meat a day. And then what about the really processed foods? Should you put more preference on potatoes versus potato chips? I think you should eat more potatoes than potato chips. So some foods are more preferred than others. You shouldn't demonize foods, but you should definitely place less emphasis on certain foods. All right, let's take a look at the next one here. A common criticism of fat liberation is that weight is a choice, so if somebody wants to stop being harassed, they can choose to lose weight. However, even if weight was a choice, I think she means were a choice, which it is not, it is as predetermined as shoe size, eye color, height. Okay, time out here. You do have some flexibility with your weight. There is a set range. People talk about set point, there is a set range that you can hit. But to tell an overweight or obese person that they have no chance of ever losing weight, that's a really discouraging message. Every person I've known that has lost weight didn't regret it. They thought it was a healthy fix. They told me that they felt proud about themselves, that they could move more easily, that it was easier to move around. And I can tell you, as a physical therapist who has moved a lot of patients, it is so much easier to work with somebody who is not overweight than who is overweight. Being overweight, having a ton of extra body fat does not make your life easier. If you ever get injured, if you ever have to rehab a joint, it is going to be so much harder. This channel would not be possible without Estetiano artists. If you want to start your YouTube channel and start producing content today, then check out the Creative Business Academy. There is a link in the description box below. Okay, let's get back to it. And this idea that weight is predetermined, like there is this one weight that your body is fighting for, that is not true. I mean, we have millions of examples of people who have successfully lost weight. If you're eating mindlessly, if you're eating to avoid some emotional state, if you are eating, let's say you're binge eating or you're eating at night, once you correct those behaviors, you're going to start losing weight. So if you have an eating disorder or disordered eating habits, there is a lot of room for improvement. And once you get rid of these unhealthy or these maladaptive behaviors, the weight takes care of itself. Anyway, back to the post here. Even if someone could change your weight in the long term and was choosing not to, why would that change the way that you treat them? Why would that make size discrimination okay? Size discrimination is never okay, but here's the truth. We do it anyway. Whenever we meet somebody, whenever we meet a stranger, we immediately start sizing up that person. That is what we do. We make judgments. I know we say that I'm not judging anybody. Yes, you do. Everybody judges. That is what our brains do, because we need to find simple ways of collecting information. So when you see somebody that is overweight, we immediately start to come to conclusions. Oh, they're lazy. You know, they eat too much, or they're gluttons, whatever. That might or might not be true. We don't know. But to pretend like we don't make those judgments is false, and we're only deceiving ourselves. And it is impossible to not make those quick judgments. So it's not discrimination, it's just that's what our brains do. We're constantly collecting information and we're looking for signals. We're looking for those signals that tell us something about this person. That is why fitness and fit bodies are so attractive, because in this environment of processed food, in this environment that we live in where it's so easy to gain weight, when you see somebody who's fit, it's like, wow, that's amazing. How did she do that? She must be really dedicated. She must go to the gym every day. She must have a lot of virtue. She must have a lot of willpower. That might or might not be true. That's not the point. The point is our brains are constantly making snap judgments, and it has nothing to do with oppression. One thing I've noticed among these Instagrammers is that they use a lot of words like liberation, oppression, patriarchy, hierarchy. They use a lot of social activist terms because that's what they've turned themselves into. They have turned themselves into social activists, and they don't seem to have any interest in diet and nutrition. They never post pictures of their favorite meals or recipes or anything that you would expect a dietitian to do. Everything they post has to do with social activism. Okay, this one is a doozy. It's not obesity, it's slavery. We know why COVID-19 is killing so many black people. Okay, I'm pretty sure COVID-19 doesn't have feelings. I'm pretty sure COVID-19 doesn't discriminate based on gender or race or socioeconomic status. I think it's just looking for cells to infect, cells in the lung to be specific. I don't think it has feelings. It's amoral. It doesn't think. It doesn't have a conscience. It's just trying to survive, and its goal is to replicate itself as many times as it can. I'm not sure what this sociologist is trying to say here. I'm pretty sure COVID-19 is not trying to enslave us. It's doing its thing. It has a goal, we have a goal. All of us want to survive, and some of us aren't going to survive, unfortunately. And we just have to do the best we can. But I'm pretty sure COVID-19 is not trying to enslave us. And it's posts like this that make me really question a lot of dietitians. Are they dietitians because they want people to eat healthy and want to get fit, or are they just trying to be social justice activists? If they want to be activists, fine. I'm not going to share my opinions on the recent riots or the recent controversy regarding George Floyd. If you want those opinions, there are millions of other videos that you can watch. I am going to keep my YouTube channel apolitical. But the reason I'm making this is because I keep seeing posts like this from dietitians. And it is disturbing that there is a small gang of dietitians that has completely hijacked this industry. Okay, here's the last one. I have about 50 of these. I can make an entire series on this, and I might do that. Okay, last one here. Non-diet programs in eating disorder recovery that don't include a social justice component encourage body discrimination and give power to the very systems that destroy intuitive relationships with food. So I'm not sure what she's trying to get at here. Should dietitians be full-time activists? Should the entire industry devote itself to social activism? Like I said, if you're a healthcare practitioner, it doesn't mean that you can't be an activist. It doesn't mean that you should completely ignore what's going on. I mean, you have to address these problems, but you also have a job as a practitioner. And if your clients are coming to you with nutrition needs and they need to know how to eat, you need to talk to them about something other than social activism. And saying that I'm not a full-time social activist means that I am against all of these movements, that I am against reform. That is not true at all. Just because I am not devoting my time and my resources to social activism doesn't mean I am against reforms. It just means I only have 24 hours in a day. I have my own personal clients, I have patients to see in the community, I have videos like this to make, I have articles to read, books to read. There are only 24 hours in a day. Okay, I cannot devote myself to full-time activism. I trust that somebody else will, and I trust that reforms will be made. But this idea that you're either for me or you're against me is completely false. And it's this black and white thinking that is really bad for society, and it's really bad for people with eating disorders, because it's that kind of thinking that developed the eating disorder in the first place. Regarding the systems that destroy intuitive relationships, I'm not even going to guess what that means. I'm not sure what systems she's talking about. If I had to guess, it's the entire processed food industry, it is the electronic devices that we have, it is all of the notifications that we get, it is all of the the social media. So much of our world has changed in the last 50 to 100 years, and our bodies and our brains haven't had time to adapt. So in conclusion, these dietitians who promote themselves as social activists don't care about your health. They are anti-science, they are anti-fitness, they are anti-weight loss. It makes me question why they became dietitians in the first place. If it doesn't matter what you eat, and if it doesn't matter how much you weigh, and if it doesn't matter what medical scientists say, then why bother hiring a dietitian? Eat what you want, weigh as much as you want, it doesn't matter in the end. It is almost a form of nihilism. It's like saying, once you're overweight, you're always overweight. Once you're obese, you're always obese. If you're not fit, don't try to get fit. I follow these dietitians on my Instagram, and they rarely say anything about diet and nutrition. They're always talking about patriarchy and systems and oppression and liberation. If you want to work with a dietitian, there are plenty of good ones who will actually tell you how to eat and how to eat for optimal health. But if you find a dietitian who spends all of her time on social activism, run. She's not going to tell you anything useful. These dietitians are dietitians in name only. They are using their title as a cover for social activism. Fortunately, there are still a lot of dietitians out there who actually focus on healthy eating. Find one of them and work with her. I am concerned that this profession has become more radicalized, and I hope the same doesn't happen to mine. And I do want to reiterate that I think a lot of dietitians are good dietitians, and they tell people what to eat, and they care about health, and they care about nutrition. You need to find one of those. So what do you think about dietitians who promote themselves as social activists? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget to check out some of my free resources below, and if you want to speak with me directly, there is also a link below. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them, and I'll see you there.